Sometimes, man, you just get to where I can't figure this out. Like help me out. I'm trying to understand, dudes, what the hell is going on? So that's the name of this partnership. You tell me. 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 Live. You tell me. Live. You tell me. Live. What is going on, the Pregame Network family? We are back. It is season 2 of You Tell Me. I know. We've been missing y'all too. But when I say we back, it's like Schwarzenegger in the police station and Terminator. I'll be back. Coming back weekly, maybe even more than that. It's your man, Uncle Neely. It is Dukes the Scoop in the ATL. Dukes, how you been, bro?
Man, good, man. Busy, blessed. Just excited for the new year, man. How you been?
Man, I've been doing good, man. What continues to amaze me as I watch your grind and get on my own grind, it ain't no off season in college football no more. Even when the games are done, business actually picks up. So I know you've been busy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And shoot, man, and it's just a lot to take in with the new structure of college football. So as we kind of navigated what some people are still calling the wild, wild west, it's only getting wilder by the day. And I think it's by being able to be agile in this time is really important. So I'm trying to keep my flexibility and my mobility going so I can shape shift as the times change.
Yeah, I love that, man. Y'all know the rules for You Tell Me. It's unscripted. He didn't give me his questions. I didn't give him mine. We never know what's coming, but we got to get each other feedback because sometimes we just can't figure it out ourselves. So we have to ask, You Tell Me. Dukes, I'm going to kick it off to you.
All right.
Back in the day when Netflix was still mailing out DVDs, I'm talking about back in the day when wasn't no TikTok.
Right.
That's the last time the Kansas City Chiefs missed the playoffs. You talking about, man, Pat Mahomes was a kid. He comes to the NFL. They go on this tear of not only AFC championships and Super Bowl appearances, but just making the playoffs, period. But it has come to an end this year. And sadly, the game ended with Patty Mahomes tearing his ACL, which means most of next year will be missed. You tell me, Dukes, is the dynasty finally over in Kansas City?
I would say the dynasty is, but I don't think the Chiefs are. And what I mean by that is that was a run. That was a moment in time. That run, and all good things come to an end. But I think this is Act 2. I think this is where we've never seen Mahomes with this type of adversity, coming off of an injury, aging roster in some places. It's not the same. The offensive line hasn't been the same. People have caught up to Andy Reid's fastball. When you look at some of the formations that they've been running and, some of the things, the synchronized movements in the backfield, people are starting, like, it used to be like, oh my God, this is so revolutionary. And now it's just like, oh, here they go at that pirouette, hit their ass anyway. And I think that's what people start doing, right? So I think going forward, it's going to be really interesting to see how Pat Mahomes, who we all consider to be one of the greatest quarterbacks, I think of his era for sure, if not one of, an all-time great already. First ballot Hall of Famer for sure. Now, who is he when adversity hits? It's like when Jordan went to go play baseball. We found out a lot about Jordan when they came back and lost the series. We found out a lot about Jordan when he first came back with the 4-5. All right. Then he returned to the 2-3, and you saw him return to dominance. And we talk about the Bulls. Yes, they were dominant for that stretch, but we talk about 2 3-peats. And I think it's going to be separated. Like we had Jordan pre-retirement baseball and post-Jordan. And we saw it was 2 different Jordans. And I think maybe we get to see 2 different Mahomes here. Maybe this is the break where the Chiefs go and say, all right, you know what? Maybe we get the band back together. Maybe we go back and get Bieniemy. Bieniemy's the running back coach with the Bears. Maybe they get the band back together and you see Act 2, but I think it will be different than what we've seen previously from the Chiefs.
Yeah, I love all of that, man. Like a lot of it, love it. Time will tell, Dukes, and Father Time is undefeated. Here's my thing. I think you're spot on that the dynasty part of it is over. If I could use the word concerned, which I'm not, these dudes are billionaires in aggregate, so I'm not really concerned for them. But my concern would be where's history going to remember them after this? Because one thing about the fan base of the NFL, you look at your son Cam, up and coming in his fanhood of NFL. By the time Mahomes comes back and this reset that you're talking about, if you will, you're talking about maybe 2 or 3 seasons from now for they're back in the playoffs. Because let's keep it at 100. The Bills ain't going nowhere. Lamar ain't going nowhere. Cincinnati is on the rise. It's not like the AFC is just gift wrapping them just because he healed.
Mm-hmm.
Take out a Kelsey who's going to retire. I mean, who knows? Some of these coaches that are Hall of Famers, whether it is Andy retiring himself or the coordinators moving on to be head coaches, you could have a complete reset in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So my test is going to be not only like you said about how he bounces back from this adversity. What if his next 10 years are in mediocrity?
Mm.
Because you got to have more than a quarterback. And the truth is, his next quote unquote Hall of Fame receiver is probably a senior in high school right now.
Mm.
Like we hadn't even seen them play college ball yet. We talking 3, 4, 5 years down the road before they even on the KC roster and catching a pass from a seasoned veteran Pat Mahomes, who we all remember for the Super Bowl runs. But the new fans be like, man, why they on this dude, Jock? He don't do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
man.
know.
It's what Janet Jackson say?
Hmm.
What have you done for me lately? And that's where we are now. I hate that part about it. You know what? That leads me to you tell me. Let me ask you this, Uncle Neely. You tell me, what is it about now that we've created? What it is about these times now where people seem to forget so fast? How did we become such a microwave generation when it comes to remembering legacy and what happened and how soon we forget the good times?
Dog, that is a great question. And you have officially put me on the front porch of my rocket chair as the get off my lawn guy. Like I'm finna sound like an old man right now. Cause I remember Dukes not having a microwave. Like
Mm,
literally, I remember getting out of school and when you wanted to heat up something, you had to preheat the oven, put the pizza there. It took 30, 45 minutes to eat.
yeah.
I can remember, restaurants not having drive-throughs where you had to go in to get your food. Now everybody got, and now we got Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats there bring it to you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I can remember too, Dukes, as I age myself, I remember when TV went
When TV went off for the night.
off for the night, the national anthem, and then static. Well, no, Uncle Neely, what all that got to do with Duke's Ass? Tell what he got to do, man. When you move to a 24-hour news cycle and then you move to social media and just instant send something out to the world, the more you feed that monster, the bigger that monster get, the more you want
Mm,
to eat. Now, the
mm.
beauty of it is when it's a bad story, all you got to do is sit tight because they're going to have another bad story in about 30 minutes. Like, I guarantee you this, as college football goes, Sharon Moore will be off the headlines in a couple of days. Like
Absolutely.
something else is gonna happen because we need a new story. But what also happens to that is, man, people forget like greatness. I've heard Coach Prime even say this, man, because of the dismal season the Colorado Buffs had this past year, but the year before, 9 wins, Heisman Trophy winner, bowl game appearance. Like, dog, y'all act like I forgot how to coach in the year. Like people forget. Like people literally forget how good somebody was, how great somebody was. And now when you go back to our days of watching, we forget it on the positive side. Like in my mind, Muhammad Ali never lost a fight. Yeah, he
Right.
did. In my mind, Jordan never missed a game-winning buzzer beater. Yeah, he did. In
Mm-hmm.
my mind, nobody beat Deion Sanders over the top for a touchdown. Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
But you take this new way of watching stuff and this instant highlights and streaming and social media, ain't nobody care no more, man.
Ain't
It's like
nobody care no more.
my question to you about Janet Jackson. What have you done lately, as in today? Because that's all they
Uh-oh.
remember is today.
Today. That's all. Man. Yeah, man. It sometimes it can be a little discouraging, right?
Mm,
just because nothing, the value has diminished in a lot of the things that we used to value. Now is, I can even go back to how waiting 2 years for an album to come out and then riding that album for 2 years. Man, songs get old. I mean, the song of the summer was literally the song of the summer, and you can remember where you were, and the summer just played out, and that was just like all that's over with. Like I remember, I'll never forget. Do you remember when Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Ashley got the record contract, and then she was popping, and at the end they said this is weak. Yeah, last week they were on to something else. That was foreshadowing of what the future was going to be like, and now we're in the future. Because if you would have stopped me in 1996 and told me that we weren't on the cutting edge of everything, 95, 96, there was a new, graphics started to look better. There was all this futuristic stuff starting to come out. We were approaching to the millennium, and now that stuff looks archaic. Yeah. Watching, how crazy is it now when I watch Martin and Fresh Prince with my son, that looks like how Fred Sanford show used to look to me when I was like I was like, wait, that had to be back in the day. It looks to me like, to him, that he don't see no difference between that and Good Times.
Because when that technology advanced, it advanced like exponentially. The difference between the Sanford and Son cameras and the Martin cameras compared to the Martin cameras and today's cameras is like you never had a camera.
Right.
And so like you used to do things same with sports. Go back and look at some Monday Night Football highlights from the 90s. You like, man, what did they film this with? Like this Etch a Sketch? Like what we watching?
Bro, it's so bad going back to look at like highlights from the early 2000s that I remember sitting back and watching and being like, oh man, this is good. And now you look at it and I'm like, bro, no, this was not that long ago. And then you look up and it's been 20 years. So I think the way time is moving and the way that we just inundate ourselves with information. We don't have to sit down. We don't have to be still. We don't have to not look. We don't have to be quiet. We can always create noise from our hands right here.
Yeah.
Boom. Music, food, whatever you want. A relationship. People got AI girlfriends and boyfriends now. Like you whatever you want, right there. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Well, I'm gonna hit you with the no look pass.
Dukes, I want to flip it a little college ball real quick as we sit here. It is hump day, and we're going into portal time, like official portal time. And then this year is unique, and there's just one portal. They're not going to have the spring one. And Lagway out of Florida has announced that he is going in. And this is a quarterback-driven league, like college ball is. You got to have a QB. And it's almost like these coaching hires, when you have a guy that high profile get in, it starts this domino push of like who goes where. I can't make up my mind till I see what happens here and that kind of thing. You tell me, are we done making changes to the portal and how it's set up? Have we gotten it right this time? Or is this just going to be a constantly evolving situation year by year?
Constantly evolving. Because right now, look at the schedule and how it's affecting coaching hires and fires within the season. Lane Kiffin isn't coaching a playoff team because he needs to be prepared for the portal for his next destination. That's the type of impact that it has. People are leaving playoff teams. It makes no sense. The whole reason that people play football is for a chance to win the championship. Lane Kiffin gets to the playoffs. That's like, can you imagine an NFL coach getting a job in the middle of the season, right before the playoffs, and say, "Oh, I ain't coaching. Nope, straight. I got my next opportunity. I'm going to the Cowboys. I got who can turn down the Cowboys, right?" And they leave their team. That's what it is. So they have to find a way there, because we always think about the transfer portal and players, which I understand. And sometimes people look at it as, and they could be punitive in their takes or their perception of the portal because it looks just like a money grab. Well, I had a discussion with a player not too long ago, and he was talking to his school, and the school that he talked to, where the guy was saying, he said, "Look, my coach is here because he got an offer from somewhere else and they had to pay to keep him. Why don't I get that same consideration? Because somebody else wants me too. And I think where the portal is going to continue, it has to be fair to players and coaches. And I think they're going to have to figure out a way to make it fair to the fans, because none of this works without putting butts in the seats. So I think as far as finding the opportune time between signing day and like right now, nobody even cares about high school recruiting the way they used to. It's about this portal. Who are you getting out of the portal? The portal has taken. Do you remember all the pomp and circumstance that came with signing day, changing the hats out? You know, we had one guy, you know, he brought a puppy to say he was going to the Bulldogs, you know, the moms being unhappy about all of that. And just like that is over with, because now everybody's focused on the portal. They got to find a way to make the transfer. I could see it possibly being after spring next time. I don't know, but I think that they've got to continue to make changes, because it's imperfect as can be right now. They're doing the best they can, I believe, but it's just, I mean, I talked to somebody when the portal when they first mentioned the transfer portal, and we all were like, what the? Everybody was like, are you serious? They can just transfer without waiting out a year? Because that's what we were raised to think. That was the system for years. I talked to a very important guy in college football, and I asked him, I said, man, how did, they opened up a can of worms. I said, well, how do you fix it? He said, you ever seen anybody put worms back in the can? It's over. I said, dang, he hit me with one then. So you can't put worms back in the can? It's over with. You ever seen spilled milk go back in the container?
It can't.
It can't. So I think that's where we are. You tell me what you think, huh?
There's going to have to be changes, right? If nothing else, to the calendar. When you gave your NFL analogy, one thing about the NFL structure with its season and off season, there is a detailed annual calendar that just does not permit coaches from taking jobs when they got another job. You can't even talk to them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody has to be to the off season, and you got to get to the off season of your team, et cetera, then get permission to interview somebody, all those kind of nuances. Well, for that to happen in college football, we got to probably be playing the first game the last weekend of July.
Mm-hmm.
Like we gotta move everything up 3 or 4 weeks. We already added a week 0. And so I don't see that being the silver bullet solution. The other thing is, how do you adjust the calendar on the back end to allow? Because let's just do what it is. We're talking about successful people here.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's complaining about the guy who leaves a job and the season is over.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, those guys ain't getting courted a lot either. So you're really talking about successful coaches who, now that the regular season is over and now that early signing day is upon us, portal getting ready to open, I got to know who's going to be coaching, who my staff is, so I can recruit guys or retain guys.
Mm-hmm.
So the conflict of that calendar, was not or is not Lane Kiffin's fault. And even Ole Miss said to him, well, if you go there, you can't coach the playoff game. Is not their fault. Like, this stuff is just decisions have to be made. You have to move on. But the calendar does not allow for a structured, peaceful move on. At some point, there's going to be some animosity, because not only have I announced I'm leaving you, I've announced who I'm going to. Somebody ain't going to be happy with that process. I do think there's a solution to it, though. Like, you could change the signing day period. You could change the portal day periods, and that allows a little more time for an institution that's looking for a new coach, that they don't have to be in such a rush to announce they have him in place, to keep some commitments and that kind of thing. But this system, man, I don't care if it's the NIL dollar, the portal dollar, the coaching carousel, it's going to continue to change, because, like you said about, whether it's putting toothpaste back in the tube, milk back in the carton, the change was so sudden, everything wasn't figured out first.
Mm-hmm.
There was no if-then flow chart created. It was like, okay, we have to start paying players. Okay, pay players. Now we'll fix the problems as problem rise. And we still haven't had every circumstance of problem happen yet.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's gonna be new problems we ain't even thought about. Like, oh damn, I ain't know that could happen.
Oh yeah,
Now
man. The NCAA ain't even came down on folks for tampering yet.
No,
Well,
no,
guess
because
what?
that's one thing about it is like when you have kids hitting the portal, which I love the portal. I'm all for freedom of choice, including the choice to make a bad decision. Like that's life, that's adulthood. If these kids know where they're going before they get in the portal, how they have that conversation without some tampering taking place?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole layout of the calendar just suggests communication was taking place, even though communication is against the rules until you get in. So it's
Man,
a BS system.
a
And let me talk to you
non-contact
something
going.
else, Deuce, while I'm calling BS.
Say
The
it
other
again.
thing you can do to help this calendar out, stop worrying about midterms and finals exams and acting like this thing is about class. We don't have student athletes no more. You have professional athletes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so trying to attach this stuff to a scholastic calendar, this ain't 1960, 1980. This is 2026 finna be. You got to be real about the balance or lack thereof as it relates to school and people who are participating in athletics and getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, man. All right, so I think this one on me, man. I got a question. You tell me, what does Colorado need to do in the portal? What position groups are you expecting to see changes? You tell me. Where do you see Colorado being active in the portal?
I'm gonna have to say the defensive side of the ball. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Let me give a tip of the cap first and foremost to Coach Prime and recruiting staff. No, Corey Phillips has now gone over to Memphis to be their general manager with Coach Huff. But before that departure, even when you look at the young kids, the high school signees, those guys addressed quote unquote needs. Last year, you led the Big 12 in sacks. Sorry, this year at the bottom. So something was not right on that defensive line. Last year you had a better linebacker play. Some of those guys transferred out. The guys that were brought in did not live up to or exceed the previous standard. You missed somehow there. Last year, I know that Aba won Travis Hunter, but when you look at what Travis and Cameron Stillman, Craig, or all those guys were able to accomplish back there, there's a significant drop off in the secondary. So I think at all three levels on the defense, you got to go after experience in there and guys that can change games. Because although some of these guys you brought in from the high school ranks will indeed get playing time because they are those dudes, you can't bank the whole system on them. I think you did what you needed to do on offense. You brought in a new coordinator with a whole new type of system, that can fit Juju perfectly. You've got some guys up and coming on the offensive line and also retain some talent there. But my focus, portal wise, would certainly be like, okay, we got to get to the quarterback. We got to stop the run, and we got to stop giving up these bad time deep balls that are game changers.
Mm-hmm.
One of those three things, and sometimes all three things, is the reason Colorado only won 3 games last year on the defensive side of the ball. We saw the question marks at quarterback. We know that that's a given. But like I said, you addressed that with the hiring of a new OC. What's left for me is we got to bring in the right personnel to make up for some of those deficiencies on defense this past year, and they got to be the right people. They got to fit the culture in the locker room because I think that was also the miss is that you brought in some quote unquote talent, but that talent didn't necessarily mesh well with how Coach Prime runs an organization.
Mm. Great response, man. I love everything you said, and I'm gonna agree with you. I think last year, if you noticed, even on the morning run, every time you saw me and when somebody asked, I said I had questions about Colorado up the alley, as far as
You did.
linebacker play and the safety play. What happens in the middle of the field? And towards the end of the season, I said, man, it's up. Is really the interior up front too. I would say all three levels of the defense. You need interior line, some backers, and you need safeties. So you got to build a house with the foundation. Everybody. The popular term for a free safety or a guy or the cover 3 safety is going to be the guy who's on the roof. Well, you got to build that foundation. You got to build. It needs to be a 3-story house. You need to start with the defensive line. Then you need to go to the linebackers, and then you got to get good safety play. Now, the good part about it is looking at the recruiting board and from now, I did get a sneak peek at some of the guys that are already in the portal versus guys who Colorado has been able to look at and what they're looking for this year. I think people are going to be really, really excited about what comes out of this portal season and the way and the depth in which they're watching the film. Now, there's nobody who gets more of an in-depth look at what goes on behind the scenes in that building than you. And so I know you can attest to this. The level of energy there is just insane for an offseason, and the commitment to winning is there. So I think they'll do really well in the transfer portal. And if it goes the way I think it is, I'm excited to see what the fans will get.
Yeah, I concur, man. Energy is high. Coach Brian spirits are high. Because as he's told the world, what happened this past year will not happen again on my watch. And so there's not a stone being unturned. There are no sacred cows. There's a total system revamp over there. I know you've been out there recently. And so I got high expectations going into spring ball. And I really think that even though we were just talking about schedule changes, NCAA changes down the road, I really think not having a spring portal really helps the Colorado Buffaloes because you spent springs in the past coaching and training people only to have about 20 or 30 of them leave, and you kind of start all over in the summer again. Well, now when you go to February workouts, that's your team. Outside of a grad student here, they're coming from summer school. Like you got what you've got now, and so you got a young quarterback who's going to get the focus of attention as far as his development. He'll be ready. Whatever defensive changes, O-line changes, now you're looking at 6 months plus of those guys being together before they head to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech. I love it.
Absolutely, man. Man. So what you think? We had 26 minutes. You want to take it to 30? You want to do one more? Or what are we doing?
Man, let's give the people one more, man. The people don't mind giving them, let's give them one more.
All right. Let's see. I'll take this one. You tell me, what is your expectation early on for what the Buffaloes do with that schedule they got?
Let me tell you this, brother. That schedule a mofo. All right. The all the dates have not been plugged in, but I have seen the opponents. I think our first 3 games are set unless we add a week 0 game. You're going to go to Georgia Tech on the road. You're going to have Northwestern go up to Chicago on the road. You got Weber coming in to you in those first 3 games. When you look after that, you're playing a bevy of people who had great seasons this past season. And it's a balance of home and away. I think you got some opportunity games on the schedule, such as Oklahoma State and a UCF. But, for all of those, you got some Baylor's on there and some Texas Techs on there.
Hello.
The path has to be, is always the goal on the stick is the Big 12 championship. And then the floor under that is 6 or 7 wins to get a bowl game. And when you ask that question, and I look at that schedule for next year, you don't have the time that you think you have. It should be a sense of urgency all spring long because, again, hitting the ground running with Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Juju going home, so to speak. Think how last year's schedule changed had you beat Georgia Tech week 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You go there, get that win, go to Chicago and come back home and get those wins. You're starting off 3-0 versus 2-1. And so, because what happened last year, Dukes, as it relates to missing a bowl opportunity, you would squander so much house money early on, being up 14 points, being down 1 score, and not winning those games. That when you got to the end, it's like, damn, mathematically, I can't catch up now. Like I can win the final 2, and it means nothing. It's not going to give me the 6. So when I look at that schedule next year, I know, the coaches there, the players there don't look at it the way the media people look at it. They don't see a tough schedule. They see the schedule.
Right.
But what I see is like, hey, That ain't no cakewalk. We got to be prepared. And to be prepared means you don't have a moment to waste. You don't have a drill to waste, a series to waste, a day of practice to waste, a team meeting to not be in attention, because it will be September in Atlanta before you know it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree there. I think one thing I did look at when I looked at that schedule, and I said these are teams there are a lot of teams on the schedule. When you look at the Cincinnati's, you look at the UCFs, you look at Houston. This was not too long ago. These programs were at American Athletic Conference. There's a time where Conference USA was, this schedule is about program building. It's about who raced to get to the top of this conference. That this is not the same Big 12 that we grew up watching. So Colorado can easily, right now, with the right roster pickups, with the right coaching moves, which you're already seeing them start to make, Colorado could easily be right back on top of this conference and in the conversation for the Big 12 championship with a few tweaks to the operation that you're privy to, and to a lesser extent, I'm privy to some of it, where you can kind of see where the blueprint. Sometimes you can look at the blueprint and you can say, "Oh, that house gonna be fire." Now you still got to build a house, but you can look at the blueprint and say, "Oh yeah, it's up when they do that one." And I think that's the type of blueprint that they're building, and that's the type of what they're working with. That's the plan that they're setting in Colorado. The foundation is being set. So yeah, I'm excited to see it going forward.
Dukes, I've just been one of those guys, man. I like you. We just weren't born with no hater gene. Like I ain't got no hate in my body. When I see somebody else accomplishing something, not only do I applaud it, I celebrate it because that means I can do it too. And I saw us 2 years ago going to Lubbock, Texas, and beat Texas Tech. And I seen a year later Texas Tech, go to the Big 12 and win it. And so what can be, if they can do it in a year, I can do it in a year.
Hello.
It just takes, like you said, the right pieces plugging in. We've seen Arizona do it, turn around a season, and end up bowl eligible and going with a great performance in the bowl game. The models of success are out there. It's the execution part that has to take place. And from your days of managing logistics in a corporate structure, you can get one little thing wrong here on the assembly line, everything else after it wrong.
Ooh,
and now you got to go way back to find the problem. So that's why I'm saying you don't have the time. February 1st is just as important as August 1st, is just as important as September 1st. You can't get through the calendar, and because the game is getting closer, now it is more important. Today is important. Like, you got to start now if you're going to truly turn 3 wins into 9 again, 9 into 10, and go to the Big 12 championship.
Absolutely, man. No, I agree, and yeah, I mean, it's time. I think a tough season for the fans, tough season for the media, tough season for YouTube numbers. It was just a tough season, right? Tough for Coach Prime.
Yeah,
ain't nothing worse than seeing somebody. Man, Coach Prime used to be looking like, sometimes I say, "What, man?" You could just watch, you could see it.
Yeah,
it's like, man, what are we? Some of the things he was really flabbergasted, and he was like, "You know what? I'm fixing this." And you can already see that he's going in. Like last week when I was talking about it, like I'm calling him Coach Primo, like Nino Brown, Primo Brown. Hey, that's the Carter. They checking every trap over there, everything. Yeah. He want to. Hey, remember in the Carter, Nino?
Yeah.
Everything. So shout out to Coach Primo Brown, man, Coach Prime, because I think that's the level of intensity that he has, and to see him up and moving around is really good, man. Like the way he's moving, it's intentional. And I think and everybody's following it. So I would say, man, the energy in that building is palpable, and I think you really can't put too much stock into the off season, but you have to put stock into the off season. Yeah. Because just like you said, February is just as important as August. So yeah, I tell you what, they win in December.
Woo!
How about that?
I love that, Dukes. Yep. I love that. We love y'all tuning in to You Tell Me with Deuce and Scoop and Uncle Neely. Hey, y'all let us know in the chat. Y'all want this weekly? Y'all want this 2 times a week? Y'all want it 3 times? We gonna get the people what they want. Y'all let us know how you want it. Say something in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe to Deuce to Scoop, his channel, Don't forget to subscribe to the Pregame Network as we keep airing this joint content. And we will be back soon with more You Tell Me live. You Tell Me. Yeah.